Good afternoon, students. Today's lesson is going to be an extension of last week's topics of DNA chromosomes, genes, and loci, which is pretty much just the location of certain genes on the chromosome. So today's topic is DNA replication. Now, DNA replication is pretty much what the title suggests, and is when DNA replicates. Why is this important? Well, because of mitosis. Mitosis in a nutshell is just cell division. And it is identical. Okay? But the foundation of mitosis for identical cell division is DNA replication. So what is DNA replication? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by drawing a double helix DNA strand with just a few different base pairs. There's a lot of C's there. Yeah, a lot of C's, but it's not always like that, but just in this example. And I'm going to demonstrate what DNA replication is. So the first process is for the DNA to unwind. In your textbook, you realize that it goes through unzipping, but the first process is for the DNA to unwind. And if you unwind the DNA, it literally looks like a ladder. Okay? So the first process is unwinding your DNA. And now you are going to unzip the DNA, which is just detaching the nucleotide bases. So after just matching the base pairs, I'm just demonstrating the unzipping which occurred there. We now have the original DNA strand, which is a double helix, the unwinding that had occurred, the unzipping, and what we've left now is two base strands to match their complementary base. So in turn, this is what's going to happen. This strand and this strand are going to undergo base pairing. So these two strands will have their base pairs and form two new sequences before mitosis occurs. So now that these base pairs have separated, we want two new DNA strands, and all that happens now is the free nucleotide bases from this in the nucleus just match with these two strands of DNA, and they join together. Now I'm not going to join and match their base pairs because we've already done that a number of times, but just understand that they have all now got a base pair, and after that the DNA will rewind. So the enzyme responsible for matching these base pairs is an enzyme called DNA polymerase. So DNA polymerase, for example, will get, say if there's a T floating around, T chemical, so T stands for thymine, the DNA polymerase will grab that and match it to the base pair of adenine. And the same thing would happen if you had an adenine in the space. The DNA polymerase will grab that and match it with the thymine. And that occurs until the DNA strand completes. So the DNA polymerase is the enzyme responsible for the matching of the nucleotide bases. That also is not available in your textbook. So that is pretty much what happens before mitosis. DNA replication occurs quite frequently, and it is responsible for most growth and repair processes before cells replicate. One other important term, and this is an extension information. So if you have your DNA replicating all the time over years and years and years and years, and it just keeps on replicating, the bits at the end of the DNA do not get replicated and they fall off. These are called the telomeres. So telomeres are the ends of the DNA that do not replicate after replication. So they get spliced off, or they get cut off by enzymes, and they are what's responsible for aging. So the reason why you age, because every time your DNA replicates, the ends fall off, and eventually the codes start getting smaller. The genes that code for your characteristics do not express the proteins, or proteins are not expressed because those genes aren't there anymore. And that is pretty much what causes how old you are. Now, a case study is if we have elastin here. Elastin is the protein that makes your skin elastic. So every time you actually grab your skin and pull it back in, just like this, the protein responsible for pull it back in is called elastin. So after a series of telomeres being depleted, or after replication occurs, say after 40 or 50 years in your life, you'll start to get wrinkles because the telomerization that has occurred has deleted this protein, and therefore your skin starts to sag, and therefore you look older. So it's all a process of wear and tear. The more you use your cells, the more damage they get, the more replication that occurs, and the more codes that get deleted after the process of replication. So that concludes our lesson. We'll talk more about mitosis in the next few lessons.